70 miles west of Philadelphia, local activists gather once a month outside a detention center.
You've done this because you love your family.
Together, they voice their support for the families inside who fled their countries and are now seeking asylum in the U.S.
It's good to know that we're not alone, that there are other people who care.
The Berks Family Residential Center is run by Berks County and is one of only 3 detention centers for families. The other 2 are in Texas.
So I'm so excited to see.
But now, after a 42% increase this past year of families arriving at the border, the Trump administration wants to open more of these facilities and hold children with their parents for as long as their immigration cases proceed.
If they have an asylum claim, they can be detained until we can adjudicate that asylum claim. But, sir, that is the solve. We need the ability to keep families together.
Karen Celaya was admitted in Berks in 2015 with her then 6-year-old son. After her experience, she says any type of detention is unbearable for both the children and for the parents.
Pues la verdad sí fue bastante traumante y más que todo es el dolor de ver a tu hijo, preguntarte, mami, ¿cuándo vamos a salir de acá? Eran preguntas que me dolía no tener una respuesta específica para él porque
Celaya spent an unusually long time in Berks, 2 years, because she decided to take her case to court out of fear that she and her son might be returned to El Salvador. In 2016, she joined a group of 29 mothers from Berks in a lawsuit against DHS for what they claim was an unfair asylum interview process. Most of them, like Karen, were fleeing violence.
Yo pedí asilo porque por la violencia, específicamente a mí me había pasado algo bastante personal y pues sí, esa fue la razón por la que yo me fui prácticamente para resguardar la vida de mi hijo, ¿verdad?
Ultimately, the lawsuit failed and Karen was sent back to El Salvador. Most families seeking asylum are held in custody while they go through a credible fear interview. If they pass, they're released and given an immigration court date. DHS said it was approving 90% of credible fear cases earlier this year, with an average stay of 14 days for families in fiscal 2017. But that was before the surge of families.
Apologize for doing for our job.
In the meantime, activists say they will continue to oppose any short-term or long-term detention and continue to stand by the families.
As people of faith, we feel it's important to make a statement and to let the families know that they are not forgotten.
In Berks County, Pennsylvania, Charlene Santiago, Cronkite News.
There is a similar emergency detention camp that opened in Texas in June for an overflow of migrant children. There are now more than 2,300 teens being held inside the tent city. According to the Associated Press, taxpayers are footing a bill of more than $1,200 a day per child.
3 U.S. service members were killed today by an explosive device in Afghanistan. 3 other service members and an American contractor were also wounded in the blast, according to the military. The explosion took place near the Afghan city of Ghazni. The Taliban is claiming responsibility for the incident.
Student activists with the March for Our Lives movement are attending a Mesa school board meeting tonight in hopes of gathering support for mental health reform in schools. They say they want schools to acknowledge the intersection of gun violence and mental health issues. March for Our Lives Arizona wants to push state lawmakers for funding for counselors and social workers, as well as sensitivity training for staff. They want the state to direct money allocated for mental health toward decreasing the counselor to student ratio. Right now, there is 1 counselor for every 900 students, instead of the recommended 1 to 250 ratio.
Recent FBI data shows a 17% increase in reported hate crimes nationwide. A hate crime is a crime motivated by racial, sexual, or other prejudice, typically involving violence. Cronkite News reporter John Cardinale spoke with a victim of hate crime here in Arizona, as well as a group offering victims support.
At first, what Laura DeVere experienced at her home seemed like a joke.
It started over a year ago, and these kids would drive by and ring the doorbell and run away, and I just figured kids playing, didn't think much of it.
But 3 months ago, the joke turned into something much more serious.
One night they were just really at it and ringing my doorbell a bunch of times, and then when I went outside, I found this note with anti-Semitic graphics on it.
Laura and her husband had been a target of a hate crime from what she believed stemmed from the Hebrew written decorations on their porch.
I couldn't believe it when as soon as he was at work too, and I sent him a picture. I'm like, look what these kids left now.
According to the FBI, 264 hate crimes happened here in Arizona alone last year. The Anti-Defamation League is here to support victims.
What we offer to victims of a hate incident or a hate crime is the opportunity for advocacy, but also the opportunity for us to work with law enforcement to be able to investigate the facts of the situation and also to be an advocate for the community as a whole.
And while the ADL exists to support and advocate, there are some disappointing statistics. The National Center for Victims of Crime reported that just 54% of hate crimes occurring between 2011 and 2015 were reported.
That is the key word, reported. We don't know what is not reported, so the numbers could be significantly higher.
And that is Laura's advice to anyone who is a victim of a hate crime: speaking.
It's important to talk about it and have a dialogue about it, because otherwise people aren't going to realize this is happening, and then also report it to the ADL.
And since the DeVeres have made this incident known to their neighbors, they have gotten support.
You know, and you would be surprised, the community has really been very supportive, and I also think part of it was the incidents with the doorbell ringing stopped too, so I thought, you know, that was a good way to put an end to this.
In Scottsdale, John Cardinelli, Cronkite News.
If you or someone close to you has experienced a hate crime, the ADL director suggests that you contact the police and their office immediately.
The holiday season is just around the corner, but with it comes increased accidents on the road.
Coming up on Cronkite News. The Governor's Office of Highway Safety kicks off a DUI enforcement task to help keep you and your family safe during the holiday season.
And we'll show you a tool designed by the IRS to make sure that your money is going to the right places when you donate to charity this Giving Tuesday.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles.
In Cleveland.
In Washington.
In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
The total number of DUI arrests over the Thanksgiving weekend rose this year, according to a report released by the Arizona Governor's Office of Highway Safety. 420 people were arrested for DUIs over the weekend, which is up from the 377 in 2017. The average known BAC was also up among those that were arrested for a DUI, with a .158 average. Speed citations were also on the rise, with 3,372 citations given out. But luckily, the Arizona Department of Public Safety says there were no traffic deaths on the highways for the first time in 4 years.
Law enforcement says there's an increase in impaired drivers between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day. To help combat that, the Governor's Office of Highway Safety kicked off its holiday DUI enforcement. Today, Cronkite News reporter Holly Bernstein joins us live with details on the checkpoints.
And so far in 2018, there have been over 21,000 total DUI arrests. and those numbers come from the Governor's Office of Highway and Safety. And to keep those roads safe this holiday season, there will be checkpoints throughout the state, and there will be drug recognition experts at those checkpoints.
I grew up knowing that my great-grandmother was walking my aunt to get ice cream in Berkeley, California. As she attempted to cross the road, an impaired driver struck her and killed her.
For Tempe Police Chief Sylvia Moyer, keeping drunk drivers off the road is personal. She was one of dozens of law enforcement officials from across Arizona at the state capitol today. They joined the Governor's Office of Highway Safety for the statewide holiday DUI task force kickoff.
Those vehicles are weapons, and the irresponsible people that choose to drive them compromise the safety of all Arizonans.
This holiday season, law enforcement officers will be out in full force, looking for drunk and impaired drivers. Along with saturation patrols and sobriety checkpoints, local agencies will also staff officers every night for the specific purpose of detecting and removing impaired drivers from the road. 81 law enforcement agencies will be involved. Phoenix Police Department Chief Jerry Williams says there's no reason why anyone should drive impaired.
There are people in the community who will be designated drivers, use all kinds of systems, taxi cabs, Ubers, and Lyfts.
Moyer says nobody should have to lose their life to a driver under the influence.
We want no other family to suffer from an injury or loss suffered from the irresponsible choice of driving impaired.
And the Arizona Governor's Office of Highway Safety is also partnering with Lyft to provide discount ride codes that will be valid from today until January 2nd. Live in downtown Phoenix, Holly Bernstein, Cronkite News.
We had Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and now today's Giving Tuesday. While you may want to give back, you might want to make sure you're giving to the right places. Reporter Tanaya Williamson has more on making sure your donations aren't in vain.
Giving Tuesday is a great way to kick off the season of helping those in need, especially for places like the St. Mary's Food Bank Alliance, who need donations to keep running.
We rely almost totally on donations, so it really matters. From just last week when we handed out more than 11,000 turkeys for our Thanksgiving holiday distribution, to just the daily, the 250,000 meals that we provide to the folks in Arizona.
And while St. Mary's is a reputable nonprofit, the same can't be said for everyone.
It may be a cause that you're interested in, but it may not be the actual charity that's getting the money to the cause that you're trying to help.
The IRS has developed an online tool that allows you to enter information on a charity to confirm whether or not they are a tax-exempt organization. It's as simple as logging on to www.irs.gov and making your way to the Charities and Nonprofits tab. From there, you want to scroll down to the Tax-Exempt Organization search. Now, you'll be able to enter information on your charity and check it out. You can search by using the employer identification number or simply using the organization name. Make sure that the city, state, and country are correct, and you're good to start your search. The organization you're looking up should pop up below. You can click on the link for more information on what their deductibility looks like and to see whether or not they are a public or private organization. This is a great tool to give with a clear mind and know where your money is going. In Phoenix, Tanaya Williamson, Cronkite News.
Some other ways to avoid scams during the holiday season is watching out for name similarities, avoiding places that don't disclose requested information, and being aware of those trying to appeal to your emotions.
It's flu season here in Arizona.
Coming up on Cronkite News, how llamas can help keep you healthy during flu season.
We have seen a lot of snowstorm activity up north of the southwest region. That only means cooler temperatures coming our way here in the valley. Current temperatures coming up next on Cronkite News.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles.
In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem. Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
Millions of people die every year from drinking dirty water. I would never have felt I had the ability to do something without ASU pushing me. We built filtration systems out of local materials with the people. To see those kids drink clean water for the first time, it's the most rewarding feeling that you can ever have. I went to ASU because I wanted to change the world. The thing I never would have expected is how the world would have changed me.
Llamas, that's right, llamas may hold the key to fighting the flu. New research is looking into an antibody from the four-legged farm animal that could help fight the illness. Cronkite News reporter Emily Four reports.
Flu season is underway in the U.S., and while the flu vaccine can help,
the tricky thing about the flu is that it's changing all the time, which is why one vaccine doesn't protect you for life. You have to get a new vaccine every year.
Dr. Deborah Lehman is a professor of medicine at UCLA in Los Angeles. She says flu vaccines are not always effective.
In some cases, it's around 50%, 60%. It's well below 100%.
But llamas might be able to help. Dr. Ian Wilson is the co-author of a recent study that shows llama antibodies, blood proteins that counteract a foreign substance, may help people fight the flu. He says those antibodies would be delivered through a nasal spray rather than a shot.
You're delivering it to the upper respiratory tract exactly where you're getting infected. So you're getting a local higher concentration of antibodies in the site that you want.
The idea is that this therapy wouldn't need to be altered every year, like current flu vaccines.
The end goal is to try to get some universal therapy or a vaccine for influenza virus. In this study, it's really more of a therapy and trying to figure out how we can actually protect ourselves against not only seasonal flu, but against any possible pandemics.
Wilson and his team from the Scripps Research Institute say because llama antibodies are almost half the size of human ones, they can better prevent the flu virus in people. So far, mice that have been given the spray have been protected from multiple flu strains. In Los Angeles, Emily Four, Cronkite News.
There were more than 35,000 cases of influenza reported in Arizona by the CDC during the 2017-2018 flu season.
You might want to start pulling out your favorite winter sweaters. It's been a bit chilly today in Phoenix.
That's right, Jordan. It's definitely been on the colder side, and that's why we have Alexis Leal in the Weather Center to tell us what's going on for the rest of the week. Alexis.
Good afternoon, everyone. Go ahead and soak up these last couple of days of sunshine because we are about to dive into the 50s and 60s as early as next week and the weekend after as well. Right now, we're seeing 73 degrees right now here in Phoenix, hitting a dew point at 23 degrees with calm winds going. Here's what we're tracking on for later tonight. By 6 p.m., 69 degrees, but we're going to dive into the 50s by 10 o'clock later on this evening. Looking at the low temperatures around the state tomorrow, below freezing up north in Flagstaff, 28 degrees, 30 along the rim, down south in Tucson, 49 degrees, 43 in Globe and Yuma at 54 degrees. Looking at the high temperatures around the valley, we are going to be slightly below average. The average temperature is 78 degrees. Here in Phoenix, we're going to be about 76. Out east in Apache Junction, 75 degrees and 72 degrees in Whitman. And as we are tracking our 7-day forecast, we are going to have a couple of cloudy days. And as we dive into the weekend, we are going to get into the 60s as our high temperature, which is significantly below average. Our high temperature average is normally 73 degrees, but as we get into early on next week, we're going to top off at 60 degrees. From the Cronkite Weather Center, I'm Alexis Leal, Cronkite News.
Earlier this month, the ASU women's basketball team took a trip to play a game on the Navajo Nation.
Coming up on Cronkite News, we're taking a deeper look at how the team inspired that community.
If you're looking for one show that tells you what happened that day in the world of business, it's NBR.
We saw a classic shipwreck.
Nordstrom's opening stores.
Triple-digit gains.
Crude climbs.
We're there to help our audience find new investment ideas.
The market still has room to go up.
Nightly Business Report is the longest-running business television program in history.
Weeknights at 10:30 on Arizona PBS.
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
A few weeks back, the ASU women's basketball team went on a journey to Window Rock. Our Anthony Totri followed the team throughout their trip to capture just what the Sun Devils event meant.
We have not played our best basketball yet, have we? No. We've missed shots we normally make. We've taken too many possessions off. Let's go. Yeah? Let's go. Rebound! And then Diego. 1, 2, 3. Rebound!
Diego translates to go for it. All weekend the Sun Devils went for it, but the team's Diego would extend far beyond a game they would end up losing to Baylor 65-59. It's Friday, 2 days before a nationally televised showdown on the Navajo Reservation with the number 4 team in the country. The team boards buses for a 5-hour trek to Window Rock, the Navajo Nation capital. The Sun Devils stay at a hotel just 10 minutes from a local high school that will host its first Division I college basketball game in its gleaming 6,500-seat gymnasium.
This community is coming to root for us, and so let's do this for them.
After Friday's late-night arrival, ASU receives a warm welcome at their shoot-around Saturday. But it's when the team steps off the court that they draw an outpouring of appreciation from the fans.
Forks out. Where's your forks? Come on. There you go.
Lines wrap around the hallways for an autograph session that lasts for an hour, only ending when the final person makes their way to the front.
Just hearing the stories that we've heard today and weeks before this, it's just like really puts like a perspective, you know, a different kind of outlook on things, and just, you know, learning about their history, I'm like, wow.
Put your hand down.
After time with the fans, the Sun Devils take an exploration around Window Rock, including the famous rock itself, and make a visit to a Veterans Memorial ahead of Sunday's Veterans Day game. Throughout their trip, the Sun Devils encounter a community where basketball is everything.
The opportunities are there, and hopefully with just the intensity and the passion of the game, you know, they get a sense for, okay, if I work really hard, you know, I can have anything I want, or I can get what I want.
Sunday, the day of the game. But for the Sun Devils, their aspirations to inspire would not so much be determined by the team's loss to Baylor, but rather the heart on display.
Just the character that we play with, who we are, I thought that shined through today, and I just said that's going to inspire the 80,000 kids on the reservation, you know, even more than if we win.
But the Sun Devils weren't the only ones inspiring. While ASU brought with it lessons of boundless opportunity, the Sun Devils left with a lesson of their own, to go for it, or as they say on the res, Diego. In Window Rock, Anthony Totri, Cronkite News.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Hi, this is Peter Yarrow announcing a new Peter Pollinary Pledge Special, filmed at the Folk Festivals at Newport, Rhode Island. It features 18 never-before-released performances during the most dynamic period of our careers.
Tonight at 7 on Arizona PBS.
Hi, I'm Dr. Wendy Suzuki. What if I told you there's something that you can start doing right now that would improve your memory and protect your brain from Alzheimer's disease and dementia? You do it, right? Join me for Healthy Brain, Happy Life.
Tonight at 8:30 on Arizona PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
If you are 60 or over, consider a charitable gift annuity with Arizona PBS. A charitable gift annuity will provide you a steady stream of income during your lifetime. and also help ensure that Arizona PBS is available for future generations.
Coming up next on Arizona PBS, Life and World.
Your favorite PBS shows, ready to watch when you are. Anytime, any place. Find more ways to explore than ever before.